Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 88 of the Free to Hope presents 12 Steps Applied to COVID-19. The 12 Steps was created by the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous over 80 years ago, and I've been a proud, humble, and grateful member for 31 years as of February the 23rd of 2021. To God be all the glory. And Free to Hope stands for From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered. To do what? To give hope to others, help others prosper equally. And for that, we need to thank our Creator for breathing life into us this morning, for waking us up this morning in this brand new day that you can make a happy new day if we learn, apply, and practice these 12 spiritual principles in all our affairs, particularly with COVID-19. So I may be in recovery and have been for 31 plus years, but I've been free from COVID-19 for 88 days by the grace of God, along with other 7 members of my family. We all can breathe, we can smell, we can taste, we can hear, we can see, we can touch, we can feel, but the goal is to listen. Listen. Because God uses broken, wounded, and shattered people like me and like you to rescue wounded, shattered, and broken people like me and like you. And so this Free to Hope recovery conversation with Edwina B, that me, y'all, tells you about my experience, my strength, and my hope regarding practicing the 12 spiritual steps in all my affairs. And now, from day one of this COVID-19, when I contracted it, started quarantine, that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God wants to use me to share with you what we can do, must do, if we want to stop the perpetuation of this virus. Our Creator knows the beginning, the middle, and the end. But in the meantime, He offers these solutions. They are in the 12 steps created by Alcoholics Anonymous, that Gamblers Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Workaholics Anonymous, now COVID-19 Anonymous. We will stop the perpetuation of this disease, right? And so what I want to do first is acknowledge our Creator by giving 30 seconds in a moment of silence, along with those of us universally, the whole entire human race, in whatever capacity we are in during this COVID-19, wherever you are, what you're doing, those who transition, those who are doing the right thing, those who are yet still defiant, those who are struggling, those who may die today. We want to give 30 seconds in a moment of silence to our Creator and the entire human race. Join me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On behalf of my Creator, who I choose to call God, and on behalf of the entire human race, I want to say thank you for tuning in with me so that I can share my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, my bad decisions, and how I contributed to contracting COVID-19 and infecting other members of my family. So I believe that I've been prepared, and I feel I am obligated and responsible and yet humble to be as transparent as I possibly can, to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth, so that you too can save one life, save one family, save one culture, save one community, one city, one country, one state. The whole entire world are having a knee-bowing experience. And when you look at the news today, some are just incapable of being totally honest with themselves. They're not unfortunate. That's not unfortunate. They seem to have been born that way. All right. As we say in the 12-step program, some of us must die in order for some of us to live. And that's because their character defects that we've been talking about, that includes defiance, stubbornness, self-centeredness, selfishness, right? Ego, prideful, wearing all those other masks, but refuse to put on the mask designed to save your life. The mask that I have on today is from my culture, from my tradition, but you better believe I have my mask on. Y'all can still hear me, can't you? And so when we apply these 12 spiritual principles to COVID-19 by washing your hands, social distancing, wearing a mask, contact tracing, getting tested, and getting vaccinated. So I'm going to show you when I got vaccinated, and I am scheduled to get my second today. So here is me getting my shot about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they called me yesterday, and I am scheduled to get the Pfizer second booster. So I lead by example. You may not be from Missouri. I may not be from Missouri, but I think it's important to show and be an example to others, right? The other thing that I want to share with you is that through the article written by Dr. Scott T. Allison on March the 31st of 2020, that's when he wrote in that article, Psychology Today, how we can benefit from the 12 steps, how we can benefit from the wisdom of 12-step programs. And I'm going to be sharing with you what that looks like, okay? And I'm also going to share with you my first day after March the 31st, where I was moved by the Spirit to hit that go live button on April the 1st. So I'm going to share that with you as well. These last few days, I showed you the first day of me being in quarantine that started on December the 3rd of 2020. We may be in a new year, in a new day, in a new month, but guess what? We are here right now, and we can make it a happy day. So it's important for me to show you that I do not look like what I've been through. And if you saw the screenshot, sometimes you'll see that's me there when I was sickly. My body ached like a toothache. I could hardly taste. My smelling was difficult. My breathing was not to its fullest capacity. And I tell you, boy, I don't have these pretty white dentures that I have in my mouth now, and I sure don't. And the way I was feeling, I wasn't about to put them back in. And so, but I just wanted you to see how transparent I am in order to save one more life, one more family, one more city, and so forth. And we can, if we learn the 12 steps and apply them to COVID-19, because they are spiritual in nature. We gain we have a spiritual experience that will produce a spiritual awakening that will create and increase spiritual maturity to obtain a psychic change, as Dr. Carl Jung, Dr. Bob, and Bill W., the AA co-founders, stated back in the 1930s, that people who suffer from the disease of alcoholism, drug addictions, the medical field is limited, the religious field is limited, but if we learn to apply these 12 spiritual principles to any and all physical conditions, we can make this a happy new day. So I also want to, thank my friend out in California. Her name is Sharon Cephas. I told her I don't usually give out shout outs, but I will this morning because she is a very dear friend of mine. And when I was taking care of 3 family members on hospice, my girl Sharon Cephas came to my aid. She spent the night. She helped change. She helped feed. And I am internally grateful to have a friend like Sharon Cephas out in California. So there are other people in my life that I want to recognize too before we get into our recovery conversation. The month of March is Women's Month. And I shared with you yesterday my picture of my mom with her 6 children, right? And every morning she would open up her eyes and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And she would say, those are my children. And I give homage to my my mother, because she was the hero of my life. And it's amazing, through my 4th step inventory, it was identified that as much as I loved my mother, and still do, I did not like her. I didn't like my mother. You know why? Because my exact nature in that 5th step revealed that I was jealous of my mom because of the attention she would get from my dad. Not only her, but I learned how to be competitive and manipulative and all that because my siblings tried to get my dad's attention as well. So when we go back in our inventory and we find out where that stubbornness, that manipulation, that being defiant, that being resistant, right? Selfish, self-centered. Well, it goes back to your original group that you belong to as well. So I give homage to my mother. But I also want to share with you, where you at, Mom? Oh, man. Y'all hold on a second. Okay. This is a picture of me and my mom, right? When she was sick, and I was able to lay on her chest, right? Lay on her chest, and she feeling my little cheek, and she's looking up into the skies, and she knows what's going on. Yes, because I had a praying mother, and she was rooted in her religion and her belief, but she knew that it was God who gave her the strength to not deal with just me and addiction, but 3 others at the same time. But I happen to be the worst. And it's through these 12 recovery principles that I have been able to take care of her, along with 6 other members of my family who died from Alzheimer's, cancer, you name it, they had it. But God prepared me through the 12 steps to be there for my loved ones. So I give homage to my mother, who was a young teenage mother who, by the time she was 22, had 6 kids. And if you can imagine her starting at 15, the journey of that precious, precious process. I also want to acknowledge another woman in my life. I also was able to take care of her before she died, right? Margaret Matilda Kemp Williams. She, along with my mother, taught me many things from a woman's perspective. And in some cases, there were some bad choices, bad decisions. And a lot of cases, there were some good choices and good decisions. But when I think about my attitudes, ideas, behaviors, my actions, my decisions, my choices of being a woman, these 2 women, my mother and my aunt, helped create those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors that develop my character and my personality in being a woman. So this is March Women's Month, and I definitely want to acknowledge my mother, Helen Jones Hall Lamar Taylor, and my aunt, Margaret Matilda Kemp Williams. All right. So you've seen that I showed you my opening page with me holding my pillow with my grandchildren, and we were all in quarantine. It was 5 of us in quarantine. The other 2 were outside of the home. So I thank God that we all survived, and we were chosen to share with you how you too can be a part of the problem. No, you can be a part of the solution, or you can remain a part of the problem. And I heard again this morning, some states are opening up full capacity, taking off the mask, Texas, Mississippi, and all that. And again, what is it? What is it about us as human beings? I'm talking about in general, that contrary to the evidence, contrary to the data, contrary to the research, we still have and possess that attitude of being invincible. It's going to be all right. And that's why I am so, so, so happy and proud and humbled that I'm a part of a 12-step program that I was delivered from underneath a parked car 31 years ago in the streets of Philadelphia. And even with all this knowledge, I did not apply these 12 steps to COVID-19, which is why I contributed to contracting it and infecting my family members. So I want to continue our recovery conversation, but now I want to acknowledge my sponsors so that we can get this thing rolling. So I hope you are doing what you can do, because through the Serenity Prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Talk about that wisdom with Dr. Scott T. Allison, right? And there are times when we have to apply it to individuals. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that that person is me. So through the 12-step program, most of us get clean and sober because of attraction of those who have overcome the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction. When we go back to our old neighborhoods or our old family and people, places, and things, and they see a new you, that's an attraction, right? And so they will come up to you and say, well, Edwina, you used to. Yeah, used to. So what happened? Well, let me tell you, I attend a 12-step program that's spiritual in nature, that helped me go through a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening, increase my spiritual maturity, and have me obtain a psychic change in my old and existing attitudes, ideas, and behaviors. But applying these 12 spiritual principles, I have my attitudes, ideas, behaviors, actions, and choices governed by the spiritual angle, dealing with all physical conditions. All right. So let's start. And one of the reasons why I want to acknowledge my sponsors, because they are the ones who believe what I am doing is going to help others and hopefully help yourself. All right. So we know my sponsors, my recent new sponsors are MDB Associates. Dr. Mary Douglas Bailey has a business that she provides counseling, therapy. She facilitates groups. Awesome woman. Then Patchwork Human Services with Ebony Marjorie. She also is a therapist, a licensed clinician, and she provides services to any and everybody who seeks help to put their pieces back together through Patchwork Human Services. Then we have Levante and Dorsey and Associates. She, coupled with her experience in child development, she is an expert in working with children and families to get to the exact nature, to get to the root of issues that many of us want to reveal and not conceal. Academy of Peace, my friend, Dr. J. Macklin. What a beautiful, awesome woman of God. And she has a school or building programs that gears everything towards peace, unity, and love. I had my 31st recovery gathering at Crafty Crab Seafood. And many of you know I love seafood. I particularly love crab. So I have been patronizing them, and I encourage you to do the same. Free to Hope. From recovery, emerge in power to give hope to others. We want to, HOPE stands for help others prosper equally and free. From recovery, emerge in power. One of the sub companies under Free to Hope is Women Do Haul Transportation Services, where we get trained people who are suffering from mental illness, substance abuse, ex-offenders, on how we as women can do the same thing a man can do. So Women Do Haul Transportation Services. My crown that you see on my head is by my barber, Mark Cooper of Mr. C's Barbershop. Many of the outfits I wear are from Morgan's of Delaware, and my African focus attire is from Lady T at Morgan's of Delaware. The jewelry I wear at times is from Catherine Butler. And the last one so far, Divine Light Recovery Center and Supportive Housing. So if you would like to be a sponsor, you can contact me at edwina.bell@yahoo.com or 302-690-6679 and help me to spread the word. And it was a beautiful thing. My son the other day said, Mom, somebody was watching you, and they've been watching you. And they said that you should get some some big sponsors so your show can be syndicated. And I was like, okay, thank you for planting the seed. Thank you for receiving the seed and passing it on to me, and I'm passing it on to you. If you know how I can become a syndicated show, please call me 302-690-6679 or edwina.bell@yahoo.com. I want to make this information free to the public. Free. From recovery, emerging power to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. And it's the sponsors who will help pave the way and make whatever contributions to make this go live on any and all social platforms so that we can continue to save lives, not just from the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, but from COVID-19. So I want to thank my sponsors, and I want to continue on our recovery conversation. So now I mentioned Dr. Scott T. Allison, and he is the one that wrote that article in Psychology Today. So please please go and look him up. Dr. Scott T. Allison's article in Psychology Today, March 31st, 2020 edition. And Jason Waller. I didn't know he was an actor. I went online and tried to find some breakdowns of the 12 steps, and I came across Jason Waller. It was it. So go to jasonwaller.com and you can print out the breakdown of all the steps. We're on step 7, and you can follow me as we go along. And the next one I want to show you is what those 7 points are from Dr. Scott T. Allison, and he focuses on letting go of control, right? Patience, keeping the focus on oneself, trust, living in the present, 6, social connections, and 7, services to others. So I'm about repetition, and we know that the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature need to be emphasized as much as possible. And we're changing the area from alcohol and drugs to COVID-19. And they would read as such. We admitted we were powerless over COVID-19, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And sanity only means soundness of mind regarding COVID-19. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him regarding COVID-19. 4, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves regarding COVID-19. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs regarding COVID-19. 6, were entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of character regarding COVID-19. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings regarding COVID-19. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all regarding COVID-19. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others, even you, regarding COVID-19. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it regarding COVID-19. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out regarding COVID-19. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others regarding COVID-19 and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And so what I have emphasized here and what I use for Jason Waller, breakdown of recovery principle number 7, and how we have been dissecting, analyzing, chewing, swallowing, regurgitating, if you will, some of those character defects that have not been working for us for years. And so I also shared with you that when I was prompted by the Spirit to go on and be as transparent as I possibly can, that it was during those early days back in April the 1st, right, when I set before you doing this Free to Hope live, because I was scheduled to, and I did on my 30th anniversary of last year. I had scheduled some presentations. I was on a world tour with educating people about the benefits and the wisdom of the 12 steps. So I want to share with you just the first 10 or 15 minutes of that first day on April the 1st, that this was initiated by Dr. Scott T. Allison. So to listen and listen. How about that? Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, my name is Edwina, and as I posted about 12:15 this morning, that I was going to be on every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. to present to you my free F.R.E.E., which stands for From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered 12 Principle Workshop. And as my computer is loading up, I want to start off by inviting you and others to join me in a cup of coffee with my friend Billy Dandridge, who passed away years ago, but every morning we have our coffee together. And so the 2020 free tour is a educational workshop that the Spirit gave me a couple years ago, and to put together a forum where people can learn about the 12 recovery principles that were adopted by and modeled after the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And many of you may know that the 12-step program was composed, compiled, and implemented by our co-founders back in 1935 as Alcoholics Anonymous, a fellowship of men and women who share their common experience, strength, and hope to stay sober and to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. So you may be saying, well, I don't have an alcohol problem, and that's not what this is about. This is not a 12-step meeting. This is not a 12-step program. This is Edwina, me, who want to share with you how the 12 recovery principles that I adopted through the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous has helped me the past 30 years. Yes, 30 years of being in recovery from alcohol, drug addiction, mental illness, and many other associated behaviors. And so as I have gone through my life experiences, I said, wow, in our literature, it says all of us, all human beings are ill to some extent, ill to some extent. And it could be spiritually, emotionally, physically, but we're really talking about the mental capacity, the spiritual capacity, not religious, but the spiritual capacity, that we are all ill to some extent by the nature of us being human. And so we also say in our recovery, wow, couldn't everybody benefit from knowing what the 12 recovery principles are? Yes. And that's why I am so glad that in the midst of what we are going through today in 2020, April the 1st, 2020, that I want to share with you how I'm able to smile in the midst of the storm, how I'm able to have a positive attitude with what's going on, how I and many others have developed and learned and utilized some tools to help us have an attitude adjustment. And I want to also state that there was an article in the Psychology Today that my dear friend Stephanie sent me last night, and it talked about how Dr. Scott T. Allison said that people can use the wisdom from a 12-step program during this crisis during the month of April. And so once I got that, I said, wow, this is the time to do it. Starting April the 1st for 30 days, I want to share with you, present to you how 12 recovery principles have helped me in my life and to maintain practicing a positive attitude in the midst of what's going on. And one of the things that Dr. Allison in the 12 recovery principle modality talks about is the use of the Serenity Prayer. And there's a short version and there's a long version. But the short version basically said, Lord, grant me the serenity to change the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can. No, let me start over again. All right. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The Serenity Prayer. Let me repeat that. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so when I was given that assignment to present the 12 recovery principles to the world, I came up with the 2020 free tour. And the 2020 free tour started in February in the state of Delaware. And the 2020 free tour, and again, the free stands for From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered. And so I began to look at what date to launch it on, and I just celebrated 30 years on February the 23rd of 2020. So what better date than to have my 2020 free kickoff in the state of Delaware, where I have resided for the last 30 years and have been a part of the 12-step recovery program. And so I want to share with you that my goal was to go around the world, to go around the country, to administer this 90-minute workshop, educational workshop on how you, I, together, we can benefit from learning about the 12 recovery principles. Recovery principles. So I had goals of going to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Washington, D.C. Yes. And so when this coronavirus situation came upon us, I had to make a decision because the decision was already made. You can't travel. You can't go. So how else can you share the same information that you would have shared on a platform in all of these cities across the nation, across the world, about how you, Edwina, me, Edwina, benefited from using the 12 recovery principles. And so I have my PowerPoint set up, and today we're just going to do an overview of what I'm going to present to you the next 29 days, including today. So today is an overview of what we will be discussing and how we can all benefit from the 12 recovery principles in the midst of this storm. In the midst of this storm. And you wonder how I can smile. And I can smile because of the 12 recovery principles. Knowing what they are, internalizing them, utilizing them, and implementing them in all areas of my life for the past 30 years. And so I will be, again, presenting to you the next 30 days, which includes today, information on the 2020 free tour because of being delivered and in recovery from a host of things these past 30 years. And so if the 12-step program, which I still attend on a regular basis in Alcoholics Anonymous, so I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I go to my meetings every day. Every day. If I'm not in a meeting every day, I'm talking to another alcoholic that's in recovery. I'm helping someone who's trying to get into recovery. I'm trying to be an attraction for others who want recovery. Yes. So I go to my meetings every day. But God has prepared me and has blessed me to put together this educational form to help you. So I don't know who I'm talking to out there, but I want you to know that in the midst of the storms, as we learn these 12 recovery principles, we can get through any and all things by the mere fact of using that Serenity Prayer. Okay? So, let's get started here. Excuse my back to you. Let's see here. All right. Okay. So, I also want to, say to you that being in recovery these past 30 years, I have been able to be a part of a lot of things. And that's me and my mama, y'all. Bless her heart, may she rest in peace. I'm glad her picture was shown. And so this is, again, the same flyer that I just showed you. And you may not be able to see it on the screen, but I've been showing it to you here. Got it upside down. Okay, so let's get started. All right. So first thing, let's see, I want to do. Oh, man. Okay, so even though you may not can see it, and I'm going to work on that because this is my first time doing it. It says 12 recovery principles, free from recovery, emerge empowered, presented by Edwina B. And I am presently I'm a doctoral candidate in biblical studies, but this is not nothing to do with religion. It's all about spirituality. And I've been in recovery for 30 years. And these 12 recovery principles have been modeled after the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I want to share with you a little bit about myself to give you an idea that I qualify to be sitting before you to share this awesome information. Okay? And my PowerPoint, if I was able to get it to show you, because it's real light and I don't think I can, I'm not sure what to do, but I'm gonna get it together, right? Okay. So, but yes, 30 years free of drug addiction, alcoholism, mental illness. I am a survivor of cancer, rape, molestation, suicide attempts, domestic violence. Yes. And that's just a few of the things that I've been able to acknowledge, address, and resolve with the 12 recovery principles. And so that's why I'm sitting here before you now, because these 12 recovery principles have prepared me and has qualified me to share only my experience, my strength, and my hope with whoever will listen. And so my goal is to give hope, particularly during this month of April, but hope every day, every minute of the day, to give hope. And the acronym for HOPE for me is help others prosper equally. Do you hear that? I have the acronym for FREE, From Recovery, Emerge Empowered, utilizing the 12 recovery principles in order to give hope to anyone and everyone who needs it, who desires it, who wants it. And hope is help others prosper equally. Since the 12 recovery program has helped me to prosper, it is my duty and my obligation to share it with you. And so here's our morning cup of coffee, and we're going to get into an overview of what you're going to be learning, if you will, the next 29 days starting today. Okay? So, I must also say that even though this is a spiritual program.
Okay. So y'all see what it entails when I started back on after reading the article on March the 31st by Dr. Scott T. Allison, right? And how the information that was presented to us, right, we were able to put together this form called Free to Hope. And I, again, learning to yield to the Spirit and waiting for my steps to continue to be ordered, on April the 1st, we hit that button. So my journey, my process of going from my bedroom and you saw the lighting and you saw it the way it was, right? And the main thing is I hope you listen to the message and I focus on the messenger or my surroundings, because we learn in Alcoholics Anonymous, everybody can teach us something, what to do, what not to do. There is God in everything that is on this earth because he created everything. And so coming from a spiritual angle, dealing with any and all physical conditions is why we have been so successful in Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs, and having a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition, right? So that's why this is not a religious program. It's one of spirituality. All right. And so, in doing so, I just thank my higher power for preparing me, equipping me, and using me to touch one sick and suffering soul and any form, shape, or fashion so that we can address any and all areas where we want to apply to COVID-19 Anonymous. So let's start up some support groups for COVID-19 Anonymous. And if this is the seed to make that happen, to God be the glory. And I pray that that gift that my son gave me from somebody else, that we can find a way to share this information in a syndicated way. I'm going to plant the seed, throw it out there, and leave the outcome to God. All right. So we are now ready to start our session. Just a quick review once again, because you know repetition is crucial in a 12-step program. We have to make sure that we have been successful in showing you what we've done so far. So, one, we admitted we were powerless over COVID-19 and that our lives have become unmanageable. This is the only step that needs to be taken 100%. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The CDC suggestions can create a soundness of mind for us to utilize those simple suggestions of washing your hands, social distancing, wearing a mask, getting tested, contact tracing, and getting vaccinated. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. If that power or powers has our lives in their best interest, why wouldn't we want to continue to turn our will and our lives over to them, right? Particularly regarding COVID-19. So let's go on to 4, because we did 4, 5, and 6, and now we're on 7. So this is where I found out where all that stuff, those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors from a woman's perspective, from my mother and my aunt and my development as a woman, my attitudes, ideas, and behaviors, that's where I found out all that information and doing that searching and fearless more inventory of myself. And as a result of admitting to God, to ourselves, and another human being who helped me get to the exact nature of those character defects. And when I did it with COVID-19, I found out why I did not utilize these steps to apply to COVID-19. But through the grace of God, I lived. My family members are still living. And we acknowledge that there is something that we can do. And that is getting back to stepping. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of character. So anything that stands in the way of you from being restored to soundness of mind, if you're not yet, is to get those 12 spiritual principles. So that spiritual experience, awakening, transformation, spiritual maturity, to create that psychic change and to challenge yourself. Why am I so defiant? Why am I so rebellious? Why don't I want to save the life of myself or the lives of my other family members and possibly your life? What is it about it? And so when we did recovery principle number 6, we presented ourselves to the God of our understanding regarding this COVID-19 and said, do with me as you will. And so as a result of doing that, we come to recovery principle number 7, because now that we know where these character defects come from, and we know that we need to be, humble enough to recognize that there is still some character defects that, we shared, that we still love and that we want to keep, but we remember character defects are nothing more than what we said they are, right? So during my 4th step and my 5th step, I found out that anger I had was masked for resentments of COVID-19, the uncertainty that it brought about, the confusion and frustration, right? The disbelief, and the exact nature was fear. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to me, my world, my children, my grands? What's going to happen? And then I got mad at myself, had a resentment against myself. That resentment was camouflaged by feeling stupid, defiant, rebellion. Was covered, masked by selfishness, self-centeredness, regrets, remorse, and the exact nature, once again, It's fear. So we know the acronym for negative fear is forget everything and run, but the acronym for positive and spiritual fear is to face everything and recover. All right. And so now what we want to be able to do is show you with recovery principle number 7 that when we acknowledge our defects and we practice them in all our affairs, this is what it's going to look like when we do the part about going through our 4th to the 7th step and how we got to 7. So 1, I emphasized the character defect of lying. Lying identified as a character defect. In step 5, I got to the exact nature of lying was identified as fear. 6, entirely ready to have God remove that defect of character. And 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. When I feel the need to lie again, am I about to lie or have lied, I can ask the God to remove that shortcoming from me. And so as a result of doing 1 through 6, we now arrive at recovery principle number 7. And this will help us to figure out what the situation is and why we have become, I'm going to say not stuck on stupid, but you can't say you're ignorant because all the information is out there and the statistics and data proves it. And if you ever want to know what someone has felt, what they are feeling, who have been affected in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and that's everybody, with this COVID-19, they will share with you what they could have done, what they should have done, what they didn't do, what they shouldn't have done, okay? So to get information as to why you can be challenged to answer those questions as well. And so I want to continue now dissecting Jason Waller's breakdown of recovery principle number 7, but this time using it from the COVID-19 focused area. So if you want to go back to April the 1st, when I first started with these 12-step presentations, or you want to go back to December the 3rd, when I showed you what COVID-19 looked like on me and how we are going to apply those same spiritual principles here. Let me show you again, just in case you just came on and say, what am I talking about, right? This is me with COVID-19. And the next picture is me surviving COVID-19. And what you see now is still the continuation of being in recovery from COVID-19, because we know that there's no cure for it. I'm getting the vaccine, 2nd shot today, and we will do what they tell us to do even after getting the shot. That's wash your hands, social distancing, contact tracing, wearing a mask, right? Get tested and get vaccinated. So I'm going to now apply the breakdown of recovery principle number 7, but using it towards COVID-19, all right? So step 7 of COVID-19 program of recovery is about getting rid of character defects and replacing them by practicing humility and spiritual principles. Did you hear that? The reason why we're having this conversation, this recovery conversation, is we're placing the focus of the 12 spiritual steps to COVID-19. So it would read, step 7 of the 12 steps program of recovery, but regarding COVID-19, is about getting rid of character defects and replacing them by practicing humility and spiritual principles. Working on the 7th step requires constant thoughtfulness and commitment to being honest, courageous, and humble. So let me stop there and let's have an appetizer before we dissect what that particular section says. It says the 12 steps applied to COVID-19 is about getting rid of character defects. And like I shared with you, I had an attitude of being invincible. I had an attitude that I'm not going to have nobody tell me what to do. I had an attitude of being defiant, being rebellious. In reality, I wanted to do what I wanted to do. That's the bottom line. We make decisions all day long, and the reality of it is we make our own decisions. We make our own choices. No matter what the evidence says, no matter what the research says, we still going to do our own thing. because it applies to them and not to me. Well, I had that attitude, and guess what? That character defects, the character defects of stubbornness, self-centeredness, ego, right? Being prideful, being defiant, all that contributed to me contracting COVID-19 and infecting my family members. And so replacing them, these character defects, by practicing. This is a key word in any 12-step program. It's not like what Allen Iverson said, practice. Okay, yes. With these 12 spiritual principles, yes, practice is the biggest word, the most important word in all these 12 spiritual principles. Because if we don't practice doing the right thing, we will continue to do those things that are not good for us, and will continue to have those character defects escalated, right? And when we apply them with humility and practice them in our lives regarding COVID-19, we must stop the perpetuation of the severity, the symptoms, the effect, the outcomes, and fatalities of COVID-19. So replacing them by practicing humility. What's so difficult about putting a mask on? Are they saving your life? No. It's only to enhance your what? Okay. When you saw me on that screen, when I didn't have these pearly white teeth in, I definitely didn't have no makeup on, but I've learned that my mask this time with the mask is to provide homage to my heritage, my culture. But you better believe the only mask that I wear now is the mask designed to save my life, right? So listen, y'all can hear me. I don't care. Y'all can hear me, right? So just now, I can stop and say, all right, working on the step requires constant thoughtfulness and commitment to being honest, courageous, and humble. So you may say, Edwina, you look so pretty without the mask. Man, listen, I'm trying to save my behind, not my face. And when we have an attitude of being grateful to be breathing right now, to be grateful to being alive right now, you ask any of those individuals who have gone through and succumbed to the fatalities of COVID-19, they're going to tell you, man, look, I don't care how you look, put that mask on. Put it on, okay? So it says working on the 7th step requires constant. Because remember, in recovery number 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, stubbornness, defiance, resistance and all that. And he has to do it in his time and in his way. But when we become entirely ready, we are prepared if we keep the focus on the spiritual angle to apply to this spiritual condition. So step 7 requires constant thoughtfulness and commitment to being honest. If I take this mask off, if I stop washing my hands, if I stop social distancing, if I stop any of that, I will die. So be honest with yourself. Come on now. I had to be honest with myself. Edwina, you had the information all these years, and yet you failed. Why? Because you did not apply these 12 spiritual principles to COVID-19 until such time it landed with you and your family, and now you get that wake-up call. Well, guess what? I'm giving you the wake-up call. Wash your hands, social distancing, right? Wearing the mask, okay? Getting tested, contact tracing, and getting vaccinated, right? And so when we look at what we have been doing so far, we see the need of being honest, courageous, and humble. When I see people wearing a mask, I say thank you. When I see people not wearing a mask, I say I'm going to pray for you. And so we're going to stop there, and we're going to continue with the breakdown of step 7 as outlined by Jason Waller, so that we can continue the importance and obtain the wisdom that are all in the 12 recovery principles. So I ask you the same question. Are you in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Are you being proactive, inactive, reactive, or responsible when it comes to COVID-19? So if it is God's will that we are joined tomorrow for day 89, I'm looking forward to it. If he breathes life into you and to me tomorrow, let's what? We're going to continue dissecting recovery principle number 7, which is a present step, right? So as you go out today, be mindful, be thoughtful, okay? Ask yourself, listen, I need to get my mask. I need to wash my hands, because you can save your life, the lives of your loved ones, and even lives of others. All right. So until God brings us back, if it's his will tomorrow, I will end with my shot of getting the vaccination, that I'm getting the second shot today. Okay. I need to lead by example.
We'll watch you for about 15 minutes. Okay.
I'll be recording my second shot today too. All right. Didn't have any effects, nothing. All right, there it goes. And I also want to acknowledge my sponsors again for helping me change from what you saw on day 1, April the 1st. I also want to show you how, with my sponsors, I've been able to get some new equipment. I've been able to increase my platform so that this can continue to be free to the public, but without sponsorship, I cannot, spread the word, and I want to spread the word, right? And so when we spread the word, I want you to patronize my sponsors. And if you would like to become a sponsor, please let me know. MD B Associates, Patchwork Human Services, Levante N. Dorsey, Academy of Peace, Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant, Free to Hope, Women Do Hall Transportation Services, Mr. C's Barbershop, Morgans of Delaware, Lady T at Morgans of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, and Divine Light. When Dr. Carl Jung, Dr. Bill, and Dr. Bob met, they said, listen, y'all need divine providence. Y'all need divine intervention that will take you to divine light. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is the copy of my book that I wrote, the first 4 years in recovery, that talks about the transition from being in addiction to coming into this marvelous light called recovery. All right. So until tomorrow, if it's God's will, please be safe, practice social distancing, and save a life, even your own.